From WFRV TV Local 5, Green Bay, Park Cities, and the Lakeshore, this is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. For the past 7 years, Appleton's police department was headed up by Chief Todd Thomas. But when the calendar turned to 2023 last week, Chief Thomas decided to call it a career. And his choice as successor was an historic one for the department because on Tuesday of this week, Polly Olson took over as chief, first woman to ever serve in that role. And the new chief, Polly Olson, joins us this morning. Thank you so much, Chief, for joining us.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. We are privileged. Chief Olson, has it sunk in yet? Or have you known for so long now that you were going to be chief that you're pretty comfortable by now?
I think a combination of both.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think it's still just wrapping my head around it. It's been pretty exciting over the last few days, certainly with the swearing in. But thankfully, Chief Thomas and I, had about 3, almost 4 months of transition time. And so we took full advantage of that time to really make it a smooth transition for both me and for the agency.
Mm-hmm. Now, we were there on Tuesday when you were sworn in. Who was there? What was the atmosphere? What was the day like for you?
Wow, it was incredible. It far exceeded any certainly expectations that I had in terms of attendance. And there was a former chief there. The former mayor was there with the current mayor. The chiefs from all over the area came, including Chris Davis from Green Bay PD was there. I had family and friends there, which was exciting, the PFC members, and certainly people that I worked with previously at the PD came back as well to be there. And most importantly, the current members of my PD that I serve,
right.
Many of the officers were there as well. So it was really a fantastic day. You
and Chief Todd Thomas had a unique relationship. What was that like working with him? What was that relationship?
That's a great question. That was an evolving relationship, I would say. I did not know Chief Thomas at all when he was in Green Bay. So when he came to Appleton in 2015, I was a night shift supervisor working working patrol. Mm-hmm. And so I had very little contact with him initially, and about 6 months into my role as a patrol supervisor and his role, I guess, as chief, I was offered the opportunity to take over our investigative services unit as the lieutenant, which was a day shift position. Right. And of course, in that position, because that supervisor manages many of our major cases that happen in the city, my contact with Chief Thomas increased, and I, really got to start to know him not only, as a leader in the agency, but as a person. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just through, just that familiarity, really respecting, him, just kind of lent to the relationship that we ended up having, I guess, towards the end of our working relationship. And Chief Thomas, was one of those people that gave me opportunities to have a voice, certainly in many meetings, and just pushing me in certain directions. Mm-hmm. That I, ended up, I guess, where I am today. You're
tired of the first woman question, I know.
I get it a lot, yeah.
I'm not going to ask you that because you've taken that a little bit deeper and you framed it as you setting a standard. What did you mean by that?
I think that regardless of our gender or maybe even our ethnic background, the job is the job. And I think that being able to serve as the first woman, I think, is exciting. But I really want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the responsibilities of that position, and that whomever it is, whether it's me or somebody else, that position is something that has to be earned through experience and through hard work and through all of those other there's venues. And so I do think there's something to be said about being given an opportunity, and sometimes, especially in this field, women are not maybe provided with that opportunity as frequently or as easily maybe as men have. But some of that just comes down to the lack of, the numbers of women that are in this career path. And so I think by increasing just even the number of women that get involved in policing, that certainly overall increases opportunities for everybody.
I noticed at the swearing-in ceremony, you said that being police chief was never the goal. But at what point in your career did you one day say, hey, this could be, I could do this? What was the trigger? What was the moment? When did you say, maybe so?
I think that moment really came for me when I took on the role as assistant chief.
Really?
So before that, when I was captain of investigative services, Chief Thomas and I did have some discussions about maybe a desire to move up into an assistant chief's role or maybe even a chief's role. And I was really undecided at that point. Honestly, a lot of it just had to do, again, with not really having that be ultimately a goal for myself. I was very satisfied in the work that I was doing every day. And understanding that each time you take a step up in a police agency role like that, you're taking a step back from doing the day-to-day police work that many of us got into that job to begin with to do. So it becomes highly administrative. It looks much different perhaps than the job I was doing 22 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think really that had a lot to do with it, understanding that I was going to have to say goodbye to doing some of the things I really enjoyed doing by taking on that role as assistant chief and then ultimately as chief. So when Todd finally announced his retirement and I knew that it was time to make a decision, there was a lot of heart-to-heart discussions I had with my husband and with some other trusted friends that I had, both in policing and out of policing, that led me to finally decide that, you know, it was something that I was going to push forward and try.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised? You said as assistant chief, Todd Thomas at one point came to you and said, let's have discussions about maybe police chief. Did that surprise you? Did you say?
I'd say
maybe?
Yes and no. Yeah, you know, I think, again, you know, Todd has been one of those people that has been very supportive of me, but also very supportive of other people. You know, he's been a mentor to other folks at APD, as well as his former agency in Green Bay, and I know he's got close relationships with many people in this industry that certainly could have been given those same opportunities. Ultimately, the decision for hiring a police chief comes down to the Police and Fire Commission, and they make that decision. But I knew, you know, ultimately that if I did not have, you know, certainly Todd's support in that, that would be an uphill battle
Right.
in terms of being able to be hired by the Police and Fire Commission. So it was surprising, I think, in some ways, but at the same time, I know that, you know, when you work hard, certainly that hard work can pay off and be recognized by those around you, and it's always great to have that happen.
Appleton Police Chief Polly Olson is our guest this morning. We have much more to come, so please stay with us.